Ibn Khaldun, the man who discovered the laws of civilization. They rise, they flourish, they collapse. Empires come and go, but have you ever wondered why? Why does power always peak and then decay? Why do great civilizations fall apart from within? And what if one man, over 600 years ago, had already uncovered the hidden laws behind all of it? Before modern sociology, before economics, before political science, there was Ibn Khaldun. Born in 1332, died in 1406. A scholar who watched kingdoms crumble, a thinker who survived plagues, wars, betrayals, and exile, and a visionary who wrote a book so far ahead of its time that the world would take centuries to catch up. This is the story of Ibn Khaldun, not just a historian, but the architect of civilization's secrets. A child of collapse, 1332 to 1349. Abu Zayd Abd al-Rahman ibn Muhammad ibn Khaldun was born on May 27, 1332, in Tunis, then part of the Hafsid Sultanate in North Africa. His family traced its roots back to Al-Andalus, Muslim Spain, refugees of earlier political chaos. From the very beginning, Ibn Khaldun was surrounded by stories of lost kingdoms and fallen cities. His father was a scholar, not a politician, and personally oversaw his early education. Young Ibn Khaldun studied the Quran, Arabic grammar, poetry, mathematics, logic, and Islamic law. He was brilliant. But fate intervened early. In 1348, when Ibn Khaldun was just 16 years old, the Black Death swept across North Africa. Within months, it killed nearly half of the population of Tunis. Both of his parents died. Teachers vanished. Cities emptied. Civilization itself seemed to be collapsing before his eyes. This trauma would mark him forever. He later wrote that entire communities disappeared, dynasties weakened, and institutions vanished. A living lesson in how fragile societies truly were. At 16, orphaned and alone, Ibn Khaldun stepped into a world already in decay, and he began to observe. Into the Courts of Power, 1350 to 1363. In his late teens, Ibn Khaldun entered political life. In 1352, he joined the Hafsid ruler in Tunis as a young scholar. But ambition pulled him westward toward Morocco. By 1354, he was in Fez, serving Sultan Abu Inan Faris of the Marinid dynasty. Fez was a glittering center, power and learning, but also of intrigue. Ibn Khaldun quickly learned that courts were dangerous places. In 1357, at only 25 years old, he was accused of conspiracy and thrown into prison. He spent nearly 2 years behind bars. No trial, no certainty, just silence and stone walls. When Sultan Abu Inan died in 1358, Ibn Khaldun was finally released. Freedom came with a lesson. Power is unstable, loyalty temporary. He returned to politics anyway. He served multiple rulers across Morocco and Andalusia, including Granada, where he acted as a diplomat in 1364, negotiating directly with King Pedro I of Castile. A Muslim scholar standing face to face with a Christian king. Pedro admired him so much that he offered Ibn Khaldun a permanent position at his court. He refused. He returned to Muslim lands, but betrayal followed. Friends became enemies, allies turned against him. By 1375, exhausted by politics, hunted by rivals, and disillusioned with power, Ibn Khaldun disappeared from court life. He retreated into isolation. And there, in the desert fortress of Khalat ibn Salama in modern Algeria, everything changed. The birth of a new science, 1375 to 1377. For 4 years, Ibn Khaldun lived in near solitude. No palaces, no rulers, only books, silence, and reflection. Here, between 1375 and 1377, he began writing his greatest work, Kitab al-Ibar, the Book of Lessons. Its introduction would become legendary, the Muqaddimah. In this single volume, Ibn Khaldun attempted something no one had ever done before. He did not merely record history, he analyzed it. He searched for patterns. He asked why societies rise and why they fall. And what he discovered was revolutionary. He argued that civilizations are governed by natural laws, just like physics. At the center of his theory was one powerful concept, asabiya, social cohesion, group solidarity, the invisible force that binds people together. According to Ibn Khaldun, strong asabiya allows tribes to conquer cities, cities to build states, states to form empires. But over generations, comfort replaces struggle. Luxury weakens discipline. Rulers grow corrupt. Unity fades, and eventually the civilization collapses, replaced by a new group with stronger asabiya. Rise, peak, decline, cycle. He had discovered the rhythm of history, nearly 500 years before modern sociology. Chapter 4. Ideas Too Dangerous for Kings. Ibn Khaldun did not spare rulers from criticism. He wrote that heavy taxation destroys productivity, that corruption kills states, that tyranny accelerates collapse, that soldiers lose discipline when leaders grow indulgent. He explained that when governments increase taxes to fund luxury, economic activity shrinks, reducing revenue and speeding decay. This idea would later resemble what modern economists call the Laffer curve. He described how education systems decline, how religious movements gain power, how urbanization changes human behavior, how climate influences culture. He even analyzed psychology, writing that conquered peoples often imitate their conquerors. His work was not philosophy, it was empirical observation, dangerous knowledge, because it exposed power. Cairo and the Final Trials, 1382 to 1406. In 1382, Ibn Khaldun moved to Cairo, then capital of the Mamluk Sultanate. He was appointed professor at Al-Azhar and later became Maliki chief judge, one of the highest legal positions in Egypt. But peace never lasted. His wife and children drowned in a shipwreck while traveling to join him. Once again, tragedy struck. He continued teaching, writing, judging. In 1401, at nearly 70 years old, Ibn Khaldun was summoned to meet one of history's most feared conquerors, Timur, known in the West as Tamerlane. Timur had besieged Damascus. The city was doomed. Ibn Khaldun was lowered from the walls in a basket to negotiate with the warlord. For weeks, he spoke directly with Timur,
explaining North African politics, tribal dynamics, and the nature of empires. Timur listened. The conqueror spared Ibn Khaldun. Another lesson confirmed. Knowledge can sometimes succeed where armies fail. Ibn Khaldun returned to Cairo. He died on March 17, 1406, quietly. No empire marked his passing. No monuments rose in his honor. But his ideas survived. Rediscovered by the modern world. For centuries, Ibn Khaldun remained largely unknown outside Islamic scholarship. Then, in the 19th century, European historians